Hey there everybody, and welcome back to more Sword of Etheria. So, with the successful defeat of the Earth God last time around, it's time for us to move into a new location of Theologia and see what fresh dangers lay in store for us. So it seems we are continuing on with the elemental themes. We've already fought fire and earth, and now moving on to water. And as Leon was nice enough to point out, it appears that water is going to be slowing us down if we are in it, though it doesn't really seem that's the main problem in this little area.
Let's go, kid!
No, the main problem in this area is that, well, at least with Leon's level 2 death blow, it doesn't always really go off as well as planned. And as you can probably imagine, fighting on the center platform isn't really in the cards for us, but we are able to make short enough work since these are pretty bog standard enemies that we fought plenty of times before. And if anything, at least Leon's level 2 death blow is pretty forgiving with this attack radius. For the most part, though, the arenas in this stage are going to be pretty wide open and pretty full of enemies. This first little gauntlet here is just a taste of what's to come, but it's also a taste of what we can do given our improved death blow skills that we've been continuing to harness over the course of the game. Especially think it's pretty evident in this fight, though I think really if I wanted to probably up the amount of damage I was doing, or just the amount of Etheria I was getting, I could probably be holding off and just get the level 2, or maybe even getting an over Zenith, but I find that's a little bit more of a gamble than I really want to put in. And if anything, I just want to work up the links just because, well, that's going to make getting level 2s just that much easier. Though it is at this point, at least in retrospect, that I realize, and I realized later on while I was making these recordings, that I was suddenly getting times 16 multipliers. And as far as I had known, or as far as I was aware, I should have still had that ring that limited my multiplier to times 8, that gave me more blue Etheria. Yeah, you'll be, well, it was pretty face-palming hard when I realized it, but I was wearing the ring that gave you increased green Etheria, but have the amount of yellow Etheria you'd get, which is the currency Etheria. So I've been, well, handicapping myself pretty hard with, I'd say probably the last 2 or 3 stages. I assume that's really why I've been getting only a B rank in the Etheria at the end. But yeah, it's, I mean, it's fine. I've still managed to grind stages afterwards, but I mean, that's okay. We're not really hurting for Etheria, and I managed to make ends meet. But yeah, this little encounter could be a little bit difficult if you don't pay attention to your mini-map. There are 2 axemen that are waiting to ambush you, but yeah, they are the least of your worries. Your main concern is, as always, these tall antlered gentlemen who have a nasty habit of dodging pretty consistently. Still, though, we haven't really seen the most danger that can come from the water. As of right now, the water is only about ankle deep. It's only causing a little bit of a slowdown to our movement. And what I find most interesting, it's kind of hard to miss, but there's little fish just swimming about in the water. And, amazingly enough, these are the exact same fish that were flying out of the lava, I think back on stage 8. And while we can't hit them, we don't get any blue or yellow Etheria out of them. They can sometimes latch onto us and do a little bit of damage, but yeah, otherwise they are just a little bit of background scenery, I suppose. But yeah, if you did get damaged as I did in that last encounter, there is some helpful green Etheria. And I will say, even though I am wearing a ring that supposedly increases the amount of green Etheria you get, it's not super noticeable.
Adapted for moving through the water, huh? Impressive.
Yeah, it's at this point that the game starts to show just what the water areas are going to be holding new in store for us. The upgraded frogmen, made specifically for water here, may seem, well, not that much of an upgrade, but that's because we're currently finding them on land. Their main, I guess, strength is that they move pretty quickly in water, and then they do have kind of a long-range sweeping attack, or lunging attack they can do, that while you are slowed down, gives them an even larger advantage in range than you do. Also, we had a new version of the, I guess, the normal large axe enemies. That one had a hammer, and well, that's about the extent of its newness. It does a little bit more damage, has a little bit more health, but yeah, the hammer it wields isn't really that frightening. Also, you might be noticing a constant and steady stream of annoying bubbles, and that's because, much like the rest of the technology the frogmen have managed to harness, such as the motorcycles or lava cannons, they now have access to floating bubble machines, which, while they don't do a lot of damage, they are mildly homing and pretty constant until you take care of them. Also, this encounter introduces us to the first little bit of chest-high water, and you can definitely see this is a much more significant slowdown in movement. But as long as you stay on the center path during that fight, it's not too difficult to get around. Much like this encounter here, the water is yet again about chest-high and a little bit harder to fight in, but there's really no necessity to go fight in it unless you want to go take down that bubble cannon. And, well, I don't really want to take it down, but I also don't want to wait forever for these enemies to get back out of the water.
Here we go!
I mean, the enemy AI seems to still want to focus on getting towards you, but sometimes it freaks out a little bit when it has to jump in and out of the water to get to you. And also, just for an added level of annoyance, they did put in 2 flying enemies that will pretty consistently and constantly shoot electricity at you, but it's not really our main concern. Because in all reality, what's going to control our continued movement through this level are going to be these frogmen. Because once they are all taken care of, as per usual, the flying enemies just kind of hightail it out of here because they know they are massively outclassed. Also, I find it a bit hilarious that one single bubble cannon manages to give us more Etheria than, I think, 4 or 5 of those amphibious frogmen. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to discern which enemies are really going to give you the... See ya. That was weird. Will give you the most Etheria for your efforts. I mean, at least in this situation, you can pretty much be guaranteed that the much larger guy with the axe is probably going to give you the most Etheria. But, I mean, how are you going to know that, the amphibious frogmen aren't going to give you any more Etheria than I guess, the frogman with the sword and shield. But yeah, this area, yet again, I think the only real difficulty is not so much in the water, but more just in how this little area is laid out. The central canal here, obviously, is going to have a little bit less mobility, but really it's the little step separating the edges of the center and the sides that's really going to make things pretty tedious to deal with. Especially if you are wanting to keep up consistent death blows and juggles. As I did manage to get a little bit lucky. Really, if you're trying to strive for the blue Etheria and getting the armor at the end, most of that is going to come from those large white rock enemies that we faced a couple times. If you manage to get a level 2 death blow on them, I think they alone will give you about a third of the blue Etheria you're going to need. The rest of these enemies, really just going to be a little drop in the bucket. I was a little bit bummed I wasn't able to use my level 2. It's not going to be anywhere near as much of a bummer as this final room, because while the initial enemies we see pretty deadly, they then double in size with a bunch of these amphibious frogmen and a water cannon off to the side, along with those flying enemies off to the back. Now, they are nice enough to give you a full heal, but I would normally save that for the boss fight afterwards. It's just, I really want to get rid of these flying enemies for one specific reason, and that's because one of them holds our collectible for the level, and given enough time, they will fly off, so you do want to get to them as quickly as you can, especially if you are, as I am trying to do, get all the collectibles. After you get rid of those flying enemies, though, well, you have an entire myriad of choices you can go for. We have the very fast-firing ranged enemies. We have a very large rock asshole just punching the shit out of us. A number of really annoying frogmen doing their best Vega impersonation and charging into us. And to top it all off, you've probably seen the bubbles. Yep, there is a bubble cannon off to the side there. And normally, I would say you need to go for that first, because it is going to wreck your day if you leave it just chilling there in the back. But as I was trying to get the collectible, yeah, priorities. Still, somehow or another, even among all that chaos, I managed to get, probably due to the ring I didn't realize I was wearing, plenty of green Etheria to stay healed up, and I managed to keep that link going for quite a bit of time. Also, it's time for the bubbles to stop. And with a tiny bit of overkill, we have gotten pretty good at clearing this room. And, well, without further ado, it's time to face the boss.
Vetus.
Oh yeah, we still have this guy to deal with, don't we?
How could this be possible? For the three of you to survive. Two gods have fallen, and Oz is, to all intents and purposes, destroyed. This is my fault, and I must make up for it, even if it costs me my life.
Do we really have to do this?
Yes. Whatever your goals or intentions, they're no concern of mine. I am here for one purpose only, to carry out the will of the gods. As the last remaining Oz member,
Hey, I remember this guy. He's a Metal Gear. Yeah, we haven't seen Vitas in forever, and he's been kind of a non-entity for most of the game, but I guess we needed to have our climactic rematch against him after we pretty savagely beat him last time around, and, well, he is marginally more difficult. I mean, he's only got one escort this time around, and I guess the arena is kind of a hindrance, but he really tends to want to stay on the center platform. Even if you do manage to knock him in the water, he must really hate the water because he will immediately jump back into the ring, which is good, because more than anything, I don't really want to fight in the water. Still, though, he hasn't really gotten too many more moves since we fought him last time. He still will try to parry you if you just lay into him, though he does have one new move if you happen to stay away from him far enough. He will end up flying up into the air in the center of the platform and start raining down fireballs on you, but, well, in the end, even the leader of Oz is nothing to write home about. Though if you give him an inch, he will definitely take a mile, but it's already over with. So with the final member of the New Oz defeated and a little bit more information to direct us through the water area of Theologia, we're going to continue on next time, but I don't know, something feels a little bit off about that victory. I just can't put my finger on it.